Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. And you may have noticed that the podcast now officially has a name and even has a jingle. I know, it's very exciting and getting very technical here. Anyway, it is called the Sexy Back Blueprint Show. And for those of you asking, what on earth is that? Where has that name come from? The answer is the Sexy Back Blueprint is the name of my coaching program, and that is aimed at helping parents over the age of 30 lose at least 10 pounds to reignite their confidence in just 12 weeks. So let's get on today's topic. And today I want to talk to you about progress. So we're going to discuss how to measure it. We're going to discuss when to measure it. And most importantly, we're going to discuss how to measure it. But first of all, the big thing, and we always seem to skim over this when it comes to setting goals and, trying to get to where we want to be. It's very easy to sort of go, you know what? I want to lose weight and I want to lose, I don't know, a stone, 2 stone, 3 stone, whatever it may be. That's all we seem to set out. We don't seem to set those small goals along the way and actually be able to sort of, set those small milestones to be able to get to that main goal. So first of all, you have to be realistic with your goals. So set those realistic expectations from the beginning. So what am I talking about? Don't be a New Year's resolutioner. Don't go and plan to work out every single day and eat well for every single day when you know that this is not you. You know that's not going to be you, and you know you cannot maintain that lifestyle. It's going to be really unrealistic to stick to, and you're going to end up falling off the wagon and going back to exactly what you were doing before instead of focusing on the things that you can do easily to get started, such as, I don't know, eating well for 80% of the time, breaking down that exercise regime to 2 to 3 times a week, just like I was talking about in episode 1, being that, just sort of getting out there and getting started, taking that imperfect action to making a start. Don't set those unrealistic goals. So how much can you expect to lose ideally when you're on like a fat loss plan? Now, you need to be realistic here. So you don't want a quick fix and you don't want a fad diet. The thing is, what I always sort of say to people is, ideally you want to be able to lose around half a pound to 2 pounds a week. But obviously that can change over a period of 6 months. So I don't know, 1 week you could end up losing, I don't know, half a pound, and the next week you can end up losing 3 pounds. But as an average, between half a pound and 2 pounds each week is still progress. Half a pound may not seem like a huge amount, but doing that consistently well for a long period of time is incredible progress. That is far more impressive than being able to drop a stone in a week, because you're actually making changes to your lifestyle to be able to maintain a steady weight loss and a healthy diet that you can almost stick to for life. And part of the problem is, when it comes to fitness, we do set those expectations which are impossible to live up to. And we do set unrealistic goals. I'm exactly the same. I'm guilty of it as well. And they are really hard to achieve, which is sort of why we end up falling behind and we do something a little bit different. And that's why it's important to track every single part of your journey. And I'm going to tell you how and what to track, because a lot of the time people overlook the small things and we just become obsessed with that number that's on the scales below under our feet. And as you may have seen over the years, if you've gone on a journey like this before, the scales you stand on, they will never drop in a linear fashion, and that is perfectly normal. Your progress is so much more than that number that you see below you. It's a combination of your strength from the exercise training that you're doing, the habits that you feel over time, and you've been building up and making those changes. But most importantly, and quite a vain thing as well, is the changes that you can see in the mirror. Those three things alone cannot be tracked on the scales. And what is more important, that number that you see or the person that you see in the mirror? What I often say to people is let the mirror be your scales. Go by how you look and not how much you weigh, because they're two very different things. And one of the biggest parts that is overlooked is mental health. Physical progress will not be there without a strong mindset. So what do I mean by a strong mindset and mental progress? Well, without mental progress, you won't have the mindset to be able to stick to a diet plan, and you'll end up giving up after, I don't know, a couple of weeks or a month. But a strong mindset, it is going to vary from person to person. So, for example, one person, it could be something like completing 4 workouts a week and being able to run half a marathon every single month. That could be one person's mindset. Whereas for somebody else, it could be as simple as, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go for a walk. They're very different, but just as important, because everybody's mindset is individual to them and their goals are individual to them. So we're all different and we all have different daily and weekly goals that we want to achieve. But having that strong mindset is going to set us apart from actually being able to progress forward. Anyway, coming back to actually how you want to how to actually track your progress. So obviously, it is going to be a lot easier if we could just monitor our progress with the scales. We just grab them out of the cupboard, or we just get in the bathroom, we hop on the scales each morning, and we just watch that number change. Hopefully go down, but sometimes it's going to go up, and that is perfectly normal. But obviously, that's not going to work. And that's why it's really, really important to track other parts of your journey. And as long as you are sticking to a consistent nutrition plan and a consistent exercise regime, and you're doing those consistently over a long period of time, not just 1 week on and 2 weeks off and 2 weeks on, you're doing them consistently and you're doing them regularly, then you're going to be making progress. Even if you can't see that number on the scales change, you need to be patient and trust the process, because the results will follow. So while we can't control how much we weigh on a day-to-day basis, what we can control is our nutrition and exercise to become consistent. So why can't we control our weight on a daily basis, you may ask? Well, there are many factors that come into play when it comes to how much you actually weigh. Not only is it the combination of everything in your body. So, for example, your bone density, your muscle, your fat, organs, liquid, everything that's in your body. But also there are other factors outside of your body, which is also going to affect how much you weigh on a daily basis. For example, if you eat more salt than usual on any given day, your body will retain more water. Therefore, you're likely to weigh more the next day because of this. Eating later in the day, or even weighing in earlier than you usually would, this can also have an effect on how much you weigh. While eating late or weighing in early doesn't make you gain fat at all, your weight can still spike the next morning, purely because of the amount of food that you still have in your stomach. And one of the biggest parts of why is the amount of weight that we actually contain in our large intestine. Now, I'm not going to go into loads of detail this one. I don't know if you're eating or whatever, but it depends on where the food is in your digestion system, and depends on where it is in your bowels and your bowel movements. All of this will have a massive effect. Now, I'm sure you know what I mean, so I don't need to draw you a unpretty diagram here, but you get the idea. Also, if you've weighed yourself after lifting weights in a gym session, for example, then your weight will also spike. Again, this has nothing to do with weight gain, but lifting weights damages your muscle, which is a good thing because that's obviously how your muscles are going to repair and they're going to go stronger. But when your muscles do get damaged from training, they soak up more water, which is then stored in your body. And that is perfectly normal as your body is holding onto more water. So quite simply, your weight will spike. And again, ladies, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details with this, but it's important to know your weight will spike in the week leading up to those certain points in the month. Sometimes it can spike from, I don't know, 1 to 3 pounds, whereas other times it can be 5 to 7 pounds. And obviously that varies from person to person and also month to month. Now, for these points that I've mentioned, this is why your progress should not be dictated by that scale, by that number you see underneath your feet when you stand on that piece of plastic or that piece of metal. Don't feel judged or anything like that by that number. It's important not to get emotionally attached to that number and focus on other factors and things we can record to track progress. So what can we track outside of weight? Well, there are so many different things and different areas that we can look at. I'm going to go talk about some of the key ones that really sort of help to really see your progress. And one of the biggest things that we can do to track our progress is how our clothes fit. This is huge. So, for example, have you gone down a belt loop? Is it starting, is it gone a bit tighter, so we've sort of gone down? It changes how we wear it. It can be quite a confidence boost when you almost sort of, you drop down a belt size or go up a belt size, however you want to see it. And exactly the same with a dress size. Have you gone down a dress size? Maybe you're even having to change clothes and buy smaller sizes. If things are starting to feel a bit looser, or I don't know, you're wearing something that you haven't worn in a long time, then it doesn't matter what the scales say underneath your feet, because the results are quite simply staring at you in the face. You can feel your clothes feeling so much nicer to wear out. So it doesn't matter. It does not matter what the scales say when your clothes are feeling so much nicer. They're not feeling tight anymore. They're fitting perfectly. They're exactly how you want them to feel. So imagine, just picking out that pair of jeans from the cupboard that you've wanted to wear for a long time. All of a sudden, they slide on, and wow, that is an amazing feeling. That is going to be such a nicer feeling than just sort of seeing a number change underneath your feet. Just wearing those pair of jeans that you haven't worn in a long time. Now that is huge. Also, another thing is how you actually physically feel. So things like, do you have more energy to do daily tasks? For example, I don't know, cleaning the house. Do you have more energy to be able to do that and you don't get out of breath much easier? Do you feel more confident when you can do those daily tasks, like going to school and you can sort of walk into school with a bit more confidence, knowing that you've got more energy. You're not sort of struggling when you get you've just walked from the car to the school gates and you're feeling out of breath and you're sort of feeling a bit embarrassed. You have that energy and you feel alive. You've done something good and you've done something you're really proud of. You have more energy. You feel stronger when you're going to gym and you're working out, whether that's at the gym or at home. Can you bench press a little bit more? Can you squat more? Can you do more press ups? All these things are huge factors, and these are a way of tracking your results because they are progress. Are you able to get on the floor and play with your kids or your grandkids? Be able to do it easy, be able to get down to the floor and get up off the floor easier, or even just walk up the stairs without getting out of breath. These are all incredible marker points that we just simply forget about because we're more obsessed with the scales. But these are far more important than that number that you see on the scales. Two other things that I always get my clients to do when they first start training: taking measurements. Now, taking measurements are key. Measure parts of your body on a monthly basis to start with. Just track your results so you can see how different parts of your body are changing to your exercise regime. So whether that's taking your waist measurement and your hip measurements, if they suddenly go down, they're huge indicators of fat loss. Another one that's also overlooked are pictures. Pictures are a great way of monitoring your progress. Taking pictures today at the beginning of your journey and then taking those pictures either monthly or every 6 weeks, because sometimes you don't necessarily see those results physically in the mirror every day because you're looking at yourself with very small change on a day-to-day basis. But then when you look at 2 pictures side by side over a 6-month period, that's where you're going to notice a huge difference. Noticing those physical differences over time that you won't necessarily notice just by looking at the mirror on a daily basis. That's why pictures are a great way, because it's just a great way to be able to monitor your progress and on how you look. Yes, it is become a little bit vain, and sometimes we do have to be a bit vain when we're trying to do it for ourselves. We're trying to become better versions of ourselves, better role models for our kids. We're trying to become fitter, healthier, leaner. We're doing that for not just for other people, we are doing it for ourselves as well. So becoming a little bit selfish, a little bit vain of how you look isn't a bad thing. So I hope those points, really you find those helpful, and they're ways that you can track your progress and you can monitor on how things go. So I hope you found this useful and beneficial, and that you've learned something from this podcast today, and that you don't become so reliant on the scales and the number that you see underneath your feet. So before you start your next journey to fat loss, put some of these markers into place. So here is your takeaway from this podcast. Your takeaway is to go and take some measurements, take some photos, and just record what you think of yourself. If you look in the mirror, what would you rate yourself out of 10? Go and do that now. That is your takeaway from this podcast. Take measurements, take photos, see how your clothes fit currently, and then keep recording these results every month or every 6 weeks to help you track your progress. The more things and the more aspects you track, the more notes you take, the easier it will be to monitor and keep an eye on your progress. You can see what's working and what's not working, and that's where you can make those changes. So thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I have a great lineup of special guests, with the first one joining me on the next show, which I'm really excited about. I'm not going to reveal too much, but I can't wait to introduce you to them. If you're unsure of where to find me, I'm at Guy Sumner Coaching across all social media, and you can also sign up to my free Friday email, which goes out every Friday morning without fail, and has my social media posts for the last week. It has some coaching tips on there, has all the links to the podcast, and has a quote to consider for the week. And you can subscribe to that email by just typing into the address bar gwsfitfriday.com, and you'll be on the list for the next one. Thanks again, and I'll look forward to not necessarily seeing you, but talking to you on the next podcast. Take care, everyone.